What's up guys, Barwood here, back again with another video, and today I got two topics I want to talk about. One of them being Brazil winning the Copa America, and then the other one being Hazard's influence and what he's going to be bringing to Madrid. I like Hazard as a player, so I want to talk about him as often as I can. So anyways guys, I just want to say congratulations to all the Brazilians out there who supported Brazil throughout Copa. You know, it's obviously a major trophy for them to win, and Brazil has been successful, I will say, over the past few years with their national team and everything that comes with it. So congratulations to you guys once again. Anyways, as you guys know, Brazil beat Peru 3-1 today with goals from Richarlison, Jesus, and Everton. And I just want to say that Brazil were the favorites, and they played like favorites throughout the whole tournament. Besides the Argentina game, which I thought that they got outplayed for most of the part, but they were still they had it under control as far as I could tell. So congratulations to them once again. Anyways, Brazil had a couple players that really stood out to me throughout the whole tournament. One of them being the player of the tournament winner, Dani Alves, at 36 years old. He was outstanding, absolutely, on both ends of the pitch. You know, whether he was defending, whether he was attacking, he was looking like his old self. And it takes a lot with someone like Alves, who has so much mileage on his legs. He's been playing top football since I think 2003, and it's 2019 now. So it takes a lot for him to be playing at that high level at 36 years old, and I'm really proud of the player that he is, you know, because as a Barcelona fan, obviously I want Alves back. You know, I want him. I think he can give us one more year. But I also want to talk about Everton. I think that Everton, his name was brought up before the tournament, you know, as a player, as a winger coming out of Brazilian league, that clubs are going to be looking at him, and he did really impress. I think that he's not the best of technicians. He doesn't have the, I would say, the most of abilities in his locker, but he excels at what he does, and that's being a kind of like a touchline winger and then bringing pace onto your team and looking threatening at all times. And he could do that whether just running at defenders or shooting from distance, which I think is one of his major threats. And I'm looking forward to see whether he's going to get offers or not, whether he's going to stay in Brazil for another year or he's going to go to Europe. I would like to see him in Milan maybe, or maybe Spurs, because I think Spurs really do need a winger like him, but Milan, another club that could be really good, because he won't have as much pressure on him considering they won't even be playing in Europe, but he can have the best of his chances to perform there and maybe take the next step, who knows. Another player that I want to talk about is Gabriel Jesus. He looked like a completely different player than what he does look like under Pep at City, and I think that's due to the fact that he's not tied down to a certain area of the pitch, and he's not being told exactly what to do. And I think that there's no problem with a coach telling the player exactly what to do if it brings the best out of the team, if it brings success like it does with Pep and City on the pitch. But player like Jesus looks completely different when he plays at Brazil, and that's on the wing. I see him as a striker. When he's playing as right wing, he gets the best of his chances from getting the ball and then dribbling and moving the ball forward, you know. And under Pep, he looks more like a poacher. Looks like a guy who's always there last, finishing the chances, the easy chances that other players get for him. And I think that it's good to know that Jesus is a player that has the ability to play in different areas of the pitch and then dribble and bring the ball forward, or he can play as striker and just finish chances. It says a lot about his talent and who he is, and I think that he could have won player of the tournament, but Alves was just outstanding every single game they played. That's why they gave it to him. So, you know, whoever won it wouldn't have mattered, honestly, as long as they won the tournament. So I'm going to be looking forward to seeing how Gabriel Jesus goes on forward with City, especially with Aguero declining as a player. He's most likely going to be the #1 option in a year, and not this season, the season after. And I want to know what route he's going to be taking, especially under Pep, if he's going to stay there, you know, because I think Pep is a guy that uses the strikers kind of as bait for his number 10s, I would say, kind of like that. Depends on the quality of the striker as well, but with what I've seen from Eto'o, with what I've seen under Lua, and what I've seen from Jesus and Aguero, he kind of likes them with less touches as they get, and that's a major reason of why I think he sold Eto'o, so Messi could get them more of his touches going on. Now, anyways, back to Hazard. I just wanted to say that Hazard early in the summer moved to Madrid, as you guys know, and it's really interesting to see because as of right now, he is the biggest move of the summer window, and it's going to be really interesting to see where he's going to take them as a club. With Hazard, I think that he was the best possible signing Madrid could make. Obviously, at his age, he is in his prime, and the price might have been 100 mil for, let's say, a year left on his contract, but that doesn't matter. 100 mil for Hazard is just a great deal overall. And I think that Hazard is going to be going there to win trophies, obviously, but that's going to matter on a lot of different things that's going to be happening. First of all, I just want to say that Madrid's current squad isn't exactly the most improved squad, isn't exactly the best squad. I think they have a lot of issues on the pitch that they need to fix. A major one, and the most important one, then being they need more midfielders. They need to bring more energy into that midfield with Modric on his last legs, with Cruz just being out of form for as long as I've seen him, honestly, past 2 years. And with Casemiro not being the best of, I would say, midfielders, and then we got Isco, who's been frozen out basically. So Madrid need to bring in players. Personally, I think that the best move would be Pogba because of the goals that he's going to bring in and because of the energy that he's going to bring in, and the defensive side won't matter as much if you can bring in a player with Pogba's ability, because there will be players that can cover for him. But if they don't get him, Eriksen, obviously another top shot that could happen, but I would prefer paying 150 mil for Pogba than paying 100 mil for Eriksen as far as Madrid goes, because I think that system needs those goals, that system needs those top names like Pogba to bring in, and I think that Pogba overall is just a much better player than Eriksen, so there's that as well. But with Hazard, I think him, as of right now, I have Madrid as the favorites for La Liga, and I think that bringing Hazard is a big reason why. Also, another big reason why is that Barcelona look lackluster in the summer window, and I do think that bringing in Griezmann won't change much, besides the fact that he's going to be playing right next to Suarez as long as Valverde is there, so that's going to be looking real ugly. And I do think that Barca need motivation in the locker room and on the pitch, and I think that Valverde does not bring that motivation, and after getting embarrassed in Europe 2 years in a row, that's going to be a major reason of why they're going to be lackluster in the league as well. They won't have that motivation behind them. So as far as that goes, I have Madrid for favorites in La Liga, but if Neymar does come to Barca, I do think that that's just too much quality at the club for Barca not to win La Liga. But in Europe, that's just a whole different story. I do think that with Valverde being there, they just won't do anything in Europe. Now for Hazard, I do think that Hazard's a completely different player, a star player that Madrid haven't had in years, and with having Ronaldo being your main player for so many years, you kind of forget that what kind of qualities a player like Hazard can bring to your team. Ronaldo being the finisher that he was, obviously, he kind of changed his style from 2014 and onwards, and he went and started finishing goals and everything like that. And I think that as much as he scores goals and everything there is with that, that doesn't exactly equal to success in La Liga, as you guys saw. 2 league titles in 9 years to show for it. But there's a thing that goes with it. Hazard is a player that does not bring the goals, but he excels in almost every other area of the game. I think that he's a really underrated passer. I do truly believe that. I think that at pace, he can always pick his passes the right way. He can always pick the right pass. He can always make the right decision, and that's a very top quality to have. And as a player who can bring the ball up forward, that's very important. Madrid haven't had a dribbler like that in years, and they got Vinicius the last summer, but he isn't exactly the final product like Hazard is. So I do think that if Madrid do bring in the midfielders to support Hazard and Benzema up front, they can get the most out of Hazard. I'm saying 25 goals all comp and maybe 15 assists, so that's 40 goals and assists all comp. And I do know that he did get that last season as well, but it's a different kind of game in La Liga than it is in the PL. With La Liga, you're gonna set up against more deep blocks that you haven't met, and I think Hazard's gonna have to get used to that as a player, especially with his final ball not being the best of final balls from what I've seen from top players. He's gonna have to kind of get his way by dribbling around players and everything like that, maybe using crosses more, so we'll see how it goes. But in Europe, I do think that Madrid won't succeed. I think that Hazard isn't exactly the best of players in Europe due to the fact that he doesn't have the killer instinct that you need in Europe. And you can argue with me that it's his team that makes him look bad or anything, but I haven't seen that even in those performances. Out of all the performances that he's had in Europe and Champions League, I think he's played 50 Champions League games, if I'm correct, or 50 European games, and then I only remember one good performance, and that's against Atleti and Wanda, and that was very impressive. That was a game that he kind of took over from the first minute. He was looking threatening the whole time, and that's the kind of performances you need from a player like Hazard to succeed in Europe. So if he can bring that into Europe and Madrid can improve their squad, they might have a chance, but it's looking very unlikely. But as far as La Liga goes, I do think that they're favorites going into it right now. And I think Madrid fans are really going to enjoy Hazard. A player with his qualities, a dribbler, a guy that's always looking threatening, by bringing the ball up, by causing mismatches, kind of. That's the thing that Madrid have lacked over the years. That's going to be real important for them. They had Isco in midfield that caused mismatches, but Isco isn't exactly Hazard. He's damn near nowhere near him when it comes to that. Hazard has a much better burst. He's a much better decision maker. He's a better goal scorer. So everything there goes within that. So I'm just excited to see how Hazard does in the league. I do think that in La Liga, as far as the ranking of the players go, I think that Messi, Griezmann, and Hazard go, but Hazard is the third best player in the world if you want to take in everything besides Neymar and Messi, because I do think that Hazard's quality is too much to put him anything out of top 3. You know, I don't know who else to argue with Ronaldo. He's just not his old self. He's a completely like different player, kind of like on his last legs, I would say. But with KDB maybe, but he's injured too often, and again, he doesn't have Hazard's ability, so I don't really see an argument for anyone being better than him besides Neymar and Messi. And I do think that Hazard has a real tough chance at proving himself. You know, I think if he was to win La Liga and if he was to really have a good European campaign, he can be up there as the best player in the world, or top 2, you know, and it's all up there, man. Messi's on his kind of like on his last legs. He's starting to like decline physically. Well, he's already started to decline physically, and I do think that this next year he's going to be looking more like a finisher. He's not going to be the same player that he was, picking the ball up, moving the ball up forward, and just picking out passes and shooting and everything, just not looking as threatening. So that's what I want him to do as well, but we'll see overall how it looks. There's also a major issue that I seen Madrid set up with Hazard as well, and if they're going to be starting Marcelo in that left back spot, I think that it's going to be looking real bad defensively, especially with Hazard not being the best of like defenders as a forward, and Marcelo being lackluster in defense as well. So it's going to be real interesting to see how it looks. In La Liga, you'll notice that teams do figure out those issues that there are with other teams, and they attack them all game long, especially with Madrid. These past 2 seasons, they've been getting beat on the counter, they've been getting beat on the wings so often, and that's how they lose so many games in La Liga, because of pacey wingers, or maybe just combinations on those side of the wings, maybe right side of the pitch or left side of the pitch. You know, they just get beat in every area of the game, and I think that adding Hazard and Marcelo on that left side is not going to be looking real pretty defensive wise, but Hazard has so much quality offensively. If he can bring more control to Madrid's game, especially with their midfielders not being as good as they were, then it could be a real good thing for them. And there are forwards who bring that kind of control to game that kind of gets looked over often. I think that Hazard is one of them. There are forwards that improve your defensive side of the game as a team, and that's true. It's the way it goes. With Messi, he controls the ball so much that teams have to set up for him. They have to sit back. They can't just they can't give him too much space. And Hazard is another guy. If you give Hazard too much space, he's going to attack that space. He's going to hurt you real bad. Neymar is another guy. And I think that changes how teams set up against Madrid. That's another reason of why I think they'll be more successful. I think Madrid is going to go for around, I want to say 86 points in La Liga. And it might seem like it's not too much. Madrid got 68 points last season, and that was terrible. That was one of the worst years in La Liga ever. So adding around 20 points to Madrid's total point is crazy, and it's just impact of one player. So imagine if they were to add Pogba or another midfielder or another forward, you know, I would say they are going around that 90 point total. So we will see how it goes. Overall, I'm just looking forward to seeing how Hazard plays. Anyways, guys, if you want me to talk on another subject or another topic, just let me know. You know, comment below and let me know what you want me to talk about, as well as follow on social media. Follow the Twitter account. I'm gonna start being more active on that account. Anyways, guys, it's been Barca. Peace.